Hi, I'm Amber,
I'm Melissa.
and you're listening to the AM Podcast. So we have seen a couple threads on Twitter where some Black people wonder why other Black people like K-pop because they feel as though it's just repurposing what Black artists have done in the past, music-wise, and so we thought it would be interesting to talk about.
But before we get into it, stay tuned until the end of the episode for a special announcement.
I think the big question here, Melissa, is it repurposed?
You know, Amber, I would say yes, to an extent, it definitely is. I mean, it's obvious that the companies are pulling from Black artists, like the style, the sound, and I mean, it is. I think where it sort of differs for me, and I guess it's also why, as a Black person, I guess, it's kind of what made me gravitate towards some of the groups that I do listen to, like EXO, is because it is a familiar sound. But for me, I think the difference is, honestly, it's the way that they perform. And I don't know. I think that's one of the main differences. It's how they perform the songs. I mean, because I feel like nowadays there are definitely Black artists out here that are singing and dancing and really like giving a performance. But I feel like they're not. It's not. There's so few. Whereas when you're introduced to K-pop, it's like every group does it.
True.
And it's like it's a standard. And so I feel like I guess, meaning like the K-pop industry, I feel like that's where they kind of have, I don't know, maybe it's a little controversial, I don't know to say this, but I feel like that's where they have a bit of a leg up. And I mean, and I'm not saying it as, like, I'm not like self-hating or whatever. I mean, I've always liked performers. Like you and I, we saw Janet Jackson. Like I've seen Beyonce in tour a couple times. Like I didn't just go see them because I liked how they sang, although I do like how they sing. I went to see a performance. And so if I'm looking for artists who can sing really well and can also like give us like a performance, I'm gonna go see a K-pop artist. So I mean, I feel like with today's sound, I mean, maybe in like back in the day, I feel like I'm like saying a lot, but I do feel like, okay, maybe back in the day, like I'm thinking like in the 80s when like New Jack Swing was like really popular and like everybody was dancing, like, Bobby Brown and like Guy, but like back in the day, like everybody was dancing, like that was like the thing. But I feel like nowadays, no one really puts in that level of effort anymore. And I feel like that's why a lot of us, meaning maybe Black people, gravitate towards K-pop artists. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's sort of my opinion. But I don't know. What about you?
No, I mean, I think you're making really good points because I like you are big on performances because I mean, okay, well, there are some artists where, like, if they sing, they just kind of stand there and that's their thing. And it's just good because they don't know how to dance and they're not, they're doing what they're best at,
Yeah.
But I do agree. If I'm going to go see a group, I want more than just them standing there with backup dancers doing nothing. And so I don't know if that's answering the question if it's repurposed, but that's building off of what you were talking about. But I'm trying to figure out if it is, I don't know if it's repurposed or just carrying it on. Not saying that like, they're carrying on the Black culture or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I just feel like it's here in the United States. I feel like it died out. Like you were saying, like it just went away. And so you don't see that. I feel like it went from groups dancing and being in sync and doing all that stuff to solo artists to the point where there's hardly anyone doing it anymore. And I don't know why that happened, or is it attributed to the fact that, a lot of groups broke up and everybody kind of just went their solo ways.
True.
And so I'm going on a tangent. Doesn't answer the question, but
yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to go on a tangent too. That doesn't really answer the question because I was thinking about. Well, I'll just say it really quickly. But because, well, it's supposed to be a leading question anyways, right?
Yeah,
So
just
in the
just
discussion,
go for it.
we'll get back to it. But anyways, because I was thinking, I'm wondering because as I'm wondering, like, as with like the rise of like social media and like how quickly like the music, like popular music changes like all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm just wondering if people, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, when you look at K-pop videos and like the stages and performances, like they put so much effort into it,
That is
and I'm
true.
wondering if, with here in the US, I guess the market is, because popular, because people can be, a song can be big one day and then die out the next, and like, I don't know, I'm just wondering if like that the quick change over has anything to do with the lack of effort in on the performance side.
Mm.
I don't know.
I mean, I kind of see, like, so kind of going off what you're just saying now, like, I also feel like with some songs are just overplayed as well.
Mm.
And so I feel like it also that, because to me, certain songs I'm just like, okay, so are y'all gonna play something different, or like, is this person gonna come out with something new? I know this isn't the only song that they have. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. But um
Mm.
again, not answering the question. Is it repurposed? I will say this. I feel like, see, there's a whole issue with, I'm gonna go into it. I can't beat around the bush because it's gonna help me explain my what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like there has been a history here in the United States of people taking from Black culture musically, and so people would always in history would take from like different songs, or they would literally take someone else's song and make it into what they believed was popular at the time and not credit the Black artists. And so I feel like that has constantly been throughout music here in the United States. And then I feel like K-pop is kind of just, I would say, like a 2.0 version of what pop music was here, like
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. It's not too much now. Well, I guess a little bit, but back in the day it was all about the boy bands and all that. So I feel like they're taking that aspect, and so I wonder if the reason why sometimes you feel like it's repurposing Black culture is because they were just trying to copy the like American music, but American music a lot of the times was copied off of Black music. So in turn, they just happened to copy Black music, and then they figured it out. And then so some of them try to use, like you mentioned, they pull from like the style and the sound because maybe they found out the source of the music that they were trying to imitate. But I also feel like K-pop has grown from imitation to trying to make it their own, because when we did the whole first generation thing, I was like, this looks like complete copy and paste and change the language. But over the years you could see that they're like, okay, so this is the base, so now let's make it our own. And so yeah, so in all, is it repurposed? I would just say slightly.
Mm. I agree with everything you just said. um yeah, I agree with that. They're using, I guess, the Black aesthetic or sound as like the base, but they have added onto it,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of make it their own. So I mean, yeah, so you said slightly. I mean, I would just say yes it is, but
True.
I mean, it's still really good. I don't know.
I mean, only reason I said slightly is because like I said, like, it's like, yes, but they've also changed it, so kind of no, but it's still there, so I guess technically yes. So I just said slightly because I couldn't really explain it.
Okay.
But oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, yeah. I would say yes, but then because I'm also thinking, because like when other groups, do like, but I think what I don't know. I guess the in syncness about these new groups is what
Mm-hmm.
makes K-pop, I feel like, stand out. Because like with other, like, if when non K-pop groups, I guess, try to do things that they do now, like what they're known for, like their sharp choreography or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Other people like, oh, they're just trying to be like, oh, they're just like a K-pop group, or I don't know. So they even have their own, I guess, defining characteristics about them as well. Um, anyways, I feel like I'm adding anything really to this. I'm just gonna say yes. Okay.
But I mean, you mentioned the black aesthetic, and so I was wondering, or yeah, I guess like a question is there a way to do K-pop without using the black aesthetic, the look and the sound? Is there a way to do it? I had a second question to that, but I'm gonna hold off on that and let we can talk about this first question.
Um, I would say yes. There is a way to do K-pop without using the black aesthetic. I
Mm-hmm.
guess in terms of the aesthetic, I guess I'm thinking of more like the hip hop, or what they consider to be a hip hop style,
Mm-hmm.
like the dreadlocks and like the braids or gel twist or whatever that some groups have done. I mean, they don't have to do all that. They can just wear regular clothes. They can be like their regular selves and still make bomb music. Um, I Now about the sound, I mean, I honestly don't think K-pop would be as popular as it is right now, or like as it is today, without, without using, or without pulling from the R&B and like whatever rap type influences that they have, because that's, I feel like that's what made them, um at least for today, um that's why they're so popular. I mean, I guess I'm still thinking about groups like EXO. I'm thinking about like some of my favorite songs from NCT are the ones that have like the R&B influences, and maybe that's just because that's what I'm into. But those are some like their big songs, that some of their biggest songs. I didn't mention any of the songs, but some of their biggest songs have like that type of influence. Um, and so I don't think K-pop would be where it is. Like, I mean, the older K-pop that I listen to, it definitely has more of an EDM type of influence. I guess I'm thinking like Girls' Generation, The Boys. I've been
Mm-hmm.
listening to that song a lot lately for some reason. I don't know. And it definitely has more of like a EDM type of vibe, and just like older music. And so maybe like what the trend is now is like that R&B whatever type of influence. Um, but it could also be the people who are, I'm going off on a tangent. But I guess to go back to the question, um, there's definitely a way to do K-pop without trying to dress the part.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what they think is the part. Um, but I don't know that there's, at least in today's age, I don't know if they can. I don't know if K-pop will survive without pulling from the black artists, like, or black influence in like the culture, which is so sad to say. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like that's a tough question. I've, mm, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like what pulled me to stay listening to K-pop was the fact that the sound did sound familiar,
Mm-hmm.
and I think adding, okay, people credit like rap and hip hop to Black people, which they should. Um, so I feel like that's an element that works in K-pop, because like every song kind of has like a rap part in it, or there's something like hip hop about it, and I feel like that's what pulls people from other, like, lovers of other genres to listen to K-pop.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as a Black person, I'm talking about for me, not all Black people are going to think this way, but for me, that's what also makes it, because I do like hip hop and I do like rap. And so to have, and I like pop. So to have like all of that mixed into one song is something that I really love. And so it pulled me in. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as the Black aesthetic for the look, I think they could do without it. They don't need the look. They can have their own look. You don't have to copy what you believe a Black look is. But as far as the sound, kind of like what you said, probably not. I feel like there isn't, because they doing rap, having that rap and hip hop edge to the songs that they have is what gives them that extra, I guess, pop, or extra, I don't want to use edge again, but it does give them like the edge, because you're sitting here listening to like a pop song, you're like, oh, it's pop, okay. Then also someone comes in with like a hard rap, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what? Like, it just elevates the song to the next level. And so, in that sense, the sound is needed, but I will say they don't have to use like the black, I guess, vernacular. Like, they don't have to
Oh my
say
god.
like I
I
think one.
agree.
Hmm?
I said I agree.
Yeah, like they don't. You don't have to say me. I mean, a couple people have said it. You don't have to say the N word. You don't have to try to use. I mean, I guess one is finna, that has been used in a couple.
But I think it was a black person who helped write this song.
Yes, but they don't have to use it.
So whose fault? Okay, that's another episode we did.
We,
Y'all
I
go
mean,
ahead and listen back to that episode.
we've talked about that. We have talked about that. I mean, I feel like they could have changed up the lyrics knowing who they're writing it for. I mean, I feel like that's part of. Okay, wait, I'm about to go off on a tangent. But you know what? I don't care. I feel like that's part of it. You know who you're writing for, like know who you're sending your stuff into, and then fix it that way, because you never know if they're going to keep the original lyrics or actually change it, and then they end up looking crazy. And then it just sounds like they're trying to jack the black sound. Why did I say jack like I'm 40 years old? Whatever. They're trying. And then you have people like me that are sitting here like, why are they trying to sound black? And it's just like, even though the person that wrote it was black, I don't know if that gives them like an excuse, like stay in your lane kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, you have your own way of, I think my whole issue is like, you have your own way of speaking, so use your voice and not try to copy someone else's. And so as far as that goes, they should not use the aesthetic. And I do believe that K-pop could do without the black aesthetic sound wise.
I agree. Some of my favorite songs, apparently I have a lot of favorite songs, but like some, like I liked like Twice's like earlier songs. They were very poppy and I loved them.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't in like even some of the Red Velvet songs, they're super poppy and I love them. And they didn't use, um um what's the word? Black African American vernacular English or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? They didn't do that. I mean, so you can, oh my god, but the worst, speaking about like you were talking about like finna and all that,
Yeah,
the worst is when they use slang in their songs and it makes no sense. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
Anyways,
Oh my
like,
god,
no.
yes.
But I mean, if you don't know how to use it, just don't do it. Like, please, just Korean is fine. Your own language is fine.
Or let someone review it. Like, that's somebody.
Speaking of finna, our is he not fluent in English? Like, I just they need to run past some of these songs, but I don't know. Past him, I don't know. Anyways, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
so it sounds like we're both like sort of in agreement.
Yeah.
With this question,
I guess. And so I mentioned I had like a second question that kind of went off of it. I mean, you kind of answered it a little bit, but I was wondering, like, could K-pop have started and become what it is today without using pieces of the black sound? Or, yeah, that's the question. I don't know why I said or.
Yeah, I think we kind of answered that because I think I said no.
Okay, so no. The answer is no.
I don't think so because, and I mean, I'm also wondering if it's like kind of like, well, I don't even know if it's like an element of surprise. Like, oh, look at me. Never mind.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I mean, okay. I feel like we have talked about something like this before, but I feel like with with black people, I feel like there's an expectation, like from the get-go, that like if you sing or if you whatever. But I guess like that, I think it's expectation that you're automatically going to have like a soulful voice, or you're automatically gonna be able to rap or whatever. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the rapping, which is not correct at all, it's such a stereotype. But anyways, but like either one of them actually is a stereotype, and so it's almost like, and I think that's why. I mean, I don't know if that's why, but I feel like there's a lot of Black singers who are amazing artists, like even like today, and they don't get the recognition that they deserve. And I wonder if it's because it's sort of like expected, like
Mm-hmm.
with air quotes, like you're gonna, it's just they're expected to sound a certain way basically, and so it's not really a surprise or whatever. But like when someone who is non-Black does the same thing, it like it's like wow, like oh my gosh, like you're amazing. And then okay, we're not gonna be around the bush. We know that visuals are like a big deal in K-pop, and so it's
Yeah.
like you look the way you look, you sound the way you do, and you can dance, and so it's kind of like an unbeatable like combination, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, and like, okay, I'm thinking specifically of like Dio and EXO. Like when I first heard him sing, I was like, wow, like okay, that was not really expected. But so yeah, I don't think that K-pop would be as popular as it is today, or as it is, or I don't know if they didn't have like those elements, I guess, in their music.
Yeah. And I don't know why I even asked that question, because we definitely did that whole, I even mentioned it earlier in the episode, that we did a whole thing on the first generation, and majority of the music that was from first generation K-pop was hip hop or had an
Yeah.
R&B flair to it. So,
And that's and they, because I think specifically we talked about also, I hope I'm saying this right, Sotaji, Sotaji,
Soteji
and the boys,
and
and the
boys.
boy.
I think it's just and boys. I think we had been saying the boys, but I think it's just boys.
And boy, okay. And it's amazing, and it's crazy to me. It's not that crazy to me actually that they got so popular, because
Mm-hmm.
they were literally, it was literally, they were like copying and pasting um Black artists at the time, and they got so popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean they also, but anyways, and so I'm just thinking if that's, I guess I'm confirming, I guess, or that I agree with you, because they got so popular from basically copying and pasting the sound of the groups at the time, and they became really popular. I'm not sure where I was going. Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know, I agree with you. They became popular at the time because of that. So,
Well, I guess I was saying. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, good.
I was just, because I guess I guess I was saying that as like another example of how like it was unexpected, I guess, for them to do something like that. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
before they started, the most popular forms were like trap music and like just like really traditional like type of music before they ventured into that side. And so it's because it was kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
That's I think that's why I brought them up, like as an example.
I guess one more question, even though we talked about the Black aesthetic like so much already, is that like, is it okay to use it as long as you do it respectfully? Like for me, so I know I've expressed my issue with people using Black culture or like cultural appropriating, but at the same time, I feel like if they do it respectfully, I would be okay with it. Like there's always like a tipping point where I'm just like, okay, like if they have like the hip hop style and they go as far to do locks or put fake braids in their hair, or what we consider like box braids, or do like do rags or hoops, like something like that. I feel like that just tips it over. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I have seen some where it's like they had like the street style, but it was still K-pop and it was still them,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I guess I'm just wondering, would it be okay as long as they do it respectfully?
Yeah, I think as far as like the hairstyles go, I think they can go a little too far with that. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of fashion, I guess I'm a little bit torn with the fashion because I agree, streetwear, I mean, it's not really, I mean, I guess people can, I'm not really a big fashion person, but I guess people could argue that some streetwear fashion or maybe streetwear fashion in general is pulled from like the streets of urban cities, right? So, but I feel like, I mean, I know what you're, because I'm thinking of, well, maybe that's not a good example, because I was thinking of 4 Minute, I think. 4 Minute, they did Hate,
Mm-hmm.
and they did wear like baggy clothes. And I remember watching him, like, I don't know if I'm okay with this, but it still felt kind of K pop to me. Or
Mm-hmm.
like EXO's Overdose. They wore like streetwear, they wore like streetwear fashion in that video, but it still felt K-pop.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of the fashion, as long as it's not like culturally, I do think that they should. Okay, we're speaking specifically about like Black culture, but I feel like just in general, as long as what they're wearing isn't culturally like insensitive, um, and and as long as it's not like obvious that it's a ripoff of like, I don't know, another culture,
Mm-hmm.
um, then I guess it's fine. But I guess for me, I don't know, it's always the hair that's like that draws a line for me. I don't know why. But for me, it's just like the hair, like you don't have to do the locks, you don't have to do the uh braids, like you don't have to do, let me like the box braids. You
Yeah.
don't have to do all that. And I mean, and I don't have an issue. I guess I, in terms of aesthetic, are you talking about just like the looks and like the sound? Is that that's what we're talking about with aesthetic?
Sure. Just overall.
Okay. Um, I don't have a problem. I don't have any issue with like the rapping or whatever and the singing, and like I don't have any issue with that. I mean, as long as they're not saying the N word, and
Mm-hmm.
if they, I wish they would get rid of the slang sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially if it's not if it's not done right, just don't do it. Um, but outside of that, I mean, I don't have any issues with it. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess to go back to originally what what it was about. I mean, for it being repurposed, I think just giving some thoughts. I feel like because going through this discussion, I feel like at first I was like, yes, it's being repurposed. But like part of me is now thinking like the aesthetic is being repurposed, but I also feel like hip hop and like R&B, whatever you contribute to being music from the Black culture, it is music. And I feel like music is universal. And like anyone can do music as long as they do it their own way. And so I guess part of me is like, what is being repurposed? Or I guess I'm trying to get my thoughts together on this because I don't know if I'm explaining it right. But I think oh go ahead.
I mean, I feel like I know where you're going,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know. I feel like I want to disagree. I don't know. I mean, no, because I agree. Music is universal, but I feel like the issue is always. I think
Mm-hmm.
the real issue, I think, is that they keep wanting to pull from Black culture, but they don't want to credit the roots of like the music that they're doing. Like music is universal, and because the Koreans aren't, and people in K-pop, I don't, not just Korean, there's people of all types of Asian ethnicities in K-pop, so I don't want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, it's not just people in K-pop that do R&B, right? There's people all over the world that sing like R&B, but the issues seems to be that they want to pull from like the aesthetic and whatever, but not give credit to the roots of the music. Like, where was I going?
I get it. I do. Because basically what you're just saying that, like, music is music. They can, well, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong. Music is music. They could do hip hop, rap, R&B, whatever, but they don't have to try to embody what they believe is the stereotypical sound or artist of that genre.
Right. Right. And then like to blatantly disregard, or to blatantly like just not give credit or whatever, like to act dumb,
Mm-hmm.
apparently, not apparently, but to act dumb essentially is an issue. Okay, I guess I'm thinking of Jesse, right?
It sounds like you were trying not to say someone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Jessie because like the whole issue with her and the other artist, I think how you say her name is Diana. I could be saying it wrong. And like basically, of Jessie, she had I think it was her drip music video. It was essentially a copy and paste of Diana's song for, I can't remember what the name of her song was at this right now, but it was basically a copy and paste. And I still feel some type of way about her, Jesse being the bigger artist,
Mm-hmm.
because Diana had commented on Jesse's video saying, oh, I didn't know this was me or something like that, or whatever. And Jesse was just like, oh, I don't even know who you are, and shouted out Nike. It's just like girl, your whole career
Mm-hmm.
is centered around embodying that of a Black woman. I mean, with the lips, the implants, the way she raps, the way she talks.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed really disrespectful. Even if she didn't know who she was, the whole thing just felt very disrespectful. I don't think this should be in the episode.
No, I mean, I agree. It was very disrespectful. I mean, she's a bigger artist, but clearly people knew. How do you say her? Diana?
I think it's Diana. I just watched a video about
Diana?
it yesterday,
Okay.
and the lady said Diana or
Diana? Okay, well, clearly people know who she is for other people to point out the fact that Jesse copied her.
yeah.
So I don't know why she would say something like that. But I mean, I guess overall, I'm just saying, put some respect on whatever you're doing.
Exactly. Like, don't act dumb.
Yeah, just be respectful. And
The song was I don't care. For Diana, that was the
Diana.
song that Jesse. I don't. Maybe it wasn't Jesse. Maybe it was her choreographer. Maybe it was her company. But anyways,
But I
that
mean,
was
when Jesse found out, she should have been, instead of being like, I don't even know who you are. Literally, it might have sounded like an excuse, but I really would have been better if she would have just said something along the lines of, you know what, I'm sorry that the idea well, I don't know if, I don't know if legally she could do that, but I would have
maybe.
respected her more if she'd been like, I'm sorry that, or like, they took your idea, I didn't know. If I would have known, I would have said something. Like, I don't know, like giving her some sort of credit. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know videos cost a lot to make, but she could have just made a new video, taken it down, or not made money off of it or something.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the best thing, she could have said that, or she could have said nothing at all, and they could have just handled it outside. I don't know.
True.
I feel like sometimes, I don't know, but again, I guess it would have looked weird if she didn't say anything. This isn't about Jesse and her though. Um, so, I mean, so I think for me, overall, I mean, it would just be nice. It's fine as long as they give credit where credit's due. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that, like, don't nobody send me hate for this question? Do you think that people will have something to say now that there are some? Well, right now I can only think of like one or two people that are doing, not really doing K-pop. Well, one of them is like Batu from Black Swan. She's in a K-pop group.
Mm-hmm.
So would people be like, "Oh, well, she's doing it, so it's okay, or would they think like, oh, she's trying to copy and be something that she's not? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, this whole conversation we've been talking about how K-pop pulls from Black culture, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and so the fact that she's in a K-pop group to me is us sort of reclaiming what was taken from us in the first place. But I will say that she's already recently they just celebrated Lunar New Year,
Mm-hmm.
and so all the groups that you normally get dressed the female groups, I guess, or women groups, they got dressed in like the hanboks, their traditional dresses that they wear.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, Fatu was getting like she was put under fire, I guess, for wearing one, even though she's part of a K-pop group. And so, yeah, it was kind of silly, and it was also kind of confusing because Lisa from Blackpink wore it when with Blackpink, and she is not Korean.
Right.
I mean, there's tons of not tons, but there are a few. Twice has non-Korean members as well
Mm-hmm.
that were wearing hanboks, but it was just very interesting that Fatu was the only one who was really like
Getting
put under
heat.
fire for wearing a hanbok when she is, even though because she's not, I think it's because she was Black. but yeah. So I I mean, she's part of a K-pop group, and so I guess that was a whole separate issue.
Well, no, because I just wanted to say, do you think it's just somewhat like people's opportunity to try to like, I don't know, like get back at the Black community, because we're always like, you're doing this and you're taking from this and you guys need to be a little more culturally aware. Did they feel like, oh, this is our one time to like say something back? And we feel like, but I don't even know why they would feel like it's disrespect. I don't think she did anything disrespectful.
No.
Like, it was out of respect.
Yeah. As a And apparently it wasn't even like Koreans who had the issue. It was K-pop fans
Oh
who
my
had the
God.
issue,
That's a
which makes
whole
it
nother
even
topic.
sillier. But yeah, I mean, people are always going to have things to say about Black people doing things like wearing blonde wigs or like straightening their hair. Like, people are always going to have something to say about it. It's just distracting from the issue at hand. Anyways, but yeah, so like I said, I mean, I guess originally, like I had said, I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm glad that there are Black people that are because I'm glad that there are Black people like that are in these spaces
Mm-hmm.
that were originally that we're the we are, I guess. I'm glad that there are Black people in these spaces that were built off of our aesthetic anyways.
True. So, yeah, I think, I don't know, we've talked about so much in this episode. and I don't know, we really tried to like get through this and whatever, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I care, but I'm still like K-pop regardless. So I mean, I'm just gonna have to sit here at times and be in my feelings and feel some type of way towards certain K-pop idols or groups or whatever, for when they, aren't putting respect on my culture. And honestly, sometimes they don't put respect on other people's culture. And so
Exactly.
I'm gonna feel some type of way about that too, because I know how that feels. So I'm gonna feel that same way with them. But I guess at the end of the day, yes, it's slightly repurposed. It's like, nah, it is repurposed. It is repurposed in some way, but I think they can't avoid doing the Black sound, because now like hip hop and R&B, rap, so everything is now kind of like universal. I feel like before it was
Yeah.
like our own little niche and hub, but now it's out in the world. So I don't know if that's unavoidable, but the style for sure is unavoidable, and you don't have to go across like, just, you don't have to go across like a boundary. Sometimes there may be like a line and it may be thin, and you may not see it until you're like, oh, okay, but you still should have known better before you cross the line. So, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just that's my little final thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, we did go like we said a lot, and we went like everywhere. Cause and then at the end of the day, like you said, I'm still gonna like K-pop.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna listen to it, but just because at the end of the day, I feel like it is just a music genre. But when you really like sit here and like think about it, and you're like, oh man, like, am I really supposed to be liking this? Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it is just like a music genre, and it is. I mean, the music is still good. The performances are still good. So I am still going to listen and watch K-pop. Listen to and watch K-pop. But I mean, but I still think that I do think that it's good that we have these type of discussions
Yeah.
because I mean, and I feel like the more that we do bring up these issues, maybe the more they'll realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't say finna, or maybe I shouldn't, be using these slang terminologies that are only found within African American vernacular English because I'm not African American and I do not understand how to use it in the correct way or whatever. I mean, so hopefully so I guess that's our hope with like bringing up these types of topics and discussions. But we're still gonna like freak out over like the next comeback or whatever. So but as Black people, I feel like, and I guess it's so sad because of the things that because of the repurposing, I guess, or because of the lack of sensitivity that some of these groups have. um a lot of people, specifically Black people, do leave the fandoms and
Mm-hmm.
they just stop funding K-pop altogether, which is so sad. But I don't know. I feel like it's also just music, but at the same time, it's not just music.
There's levels to it. If you look at
Yeah.
K-pop for just the music, then okay. But once you start, I feel like once you start, if you separate the music videos from the music, I feel like okay. But then once you start getting into their videos and into the past, it's just so
Yeah. So, before we end today's episode, as mentioned in the beginning, we have a special announcement. Black into K-pop Coalition, BKC, is doing a $100 Amazon gift card giveaway. To enter, all you have to do is head to podchaser.com/BKC and leave a review for any BKC podcast or an episode of their podcast in the month of February. It's that simple. A list of all the podcasts is linked in the description. Again, that's podchaser.com/BKC and you could win. Okay, well, that ends today's episode. Please let us know what you thought about today's topic. You can chat with us on Good Pods. The link is in the description. If you like this episode and want to hear more, please subscribe to the podcast. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and talk to you next.